Iran's private sector hopes that centrist government of President Hassan Rouhani will give them more room for growth and hopes the lifting of international sanctions over the nuclear program will pave the way for joint ventures with foreign investors. That was one of the messages of the FD Iran summit in London. Iran is one of the world's biggest untapped markets with a population of 80 million and hence a rare opportunity for many Western investors. But the country has numerous challenges due to underdevelopment of infrastructure, industrial and financial sectors. Iran has said it needs up to $50 billion of foreign investments a year so that the country's economy can come out of its long recession and maintain sustainable economic growth to tackle youth unemployment of 25%. 10 years of populist policies and the tightening of sanctions in 2012 have undermined Iran's economy and led to the call for reform. Feryal Mostawfi, chair of the Investment Commission of Iran Chamber of Commerce, says the government's new approach now takes the private sector more seriously than before. Nearly 4/5 of Iran's economy is run by state-owned companies, which have been supported by petrodollars. But now, with the oil prices falling, the government's encouraging more privately owned companies.
Here, the government has shown that they are not a good entrepreneur. And definitely, if the economy is back in the hand of the private sector, definitely we will have a better future. Now is the time, due to the reduction in the price of the oil, which might happen for the next couple of years, so the government has to depend on the private sector. And as I mentioned in the seminar, that the Chamber of Commerce, we are definitely trying to expand the growth of the private sector by giving them more chances.
Since Iran's landmark nuclear agreement with major powers was struck last July and put into force in January, Iran's businesses have been impatient to see foreign investors come into the country not only with money, but also know-how and technology. Reza Fateh, Chief Technology and Information Officer of Pars Online, one of the leading private sector internet service providers, says President Rouhani is determined to improve the infrastructure in information and communications, encouraging private companies to take the lead.
In his first year in office, he doubled the budget. Not only did he double the budget, he brought in foreign consultants added to the ministry to see how they can improve Iran's backbone infrastructure. Because what Mr. Rouhani has realized is the growth of ICT is going to equal the growth of the GDP of the country. For example, we were supposed to, by the 5th economical plan, have 4 terabits of internet capacity. We only realized 8% of that, 300 gigabits per second. Now they're opening that up to the private sector and allowing them also to get involved so they can grow the infrastructure. They've also started to deregulate the telecommunications industry by giving out a new license called FCP, which will now allow the private sector for the first time to build its own national backbone infrastructure and not rely on the government.
For now, the biggest concerns for Iranian and foreign companies are related to continuing banking sanctions, even though, in theory, these have been removed. While the US has lifted banking sanctions, it has kept non-nuclear sanctions, which has led to concerns that major international banks dealing with Iran could bear risks of future punishment. Peyman Kargar, managing director of France's Renault Middle East, highlights the fact that Iran's car industry could double production in the coming years with the help of foreign companies such as Renault. As one of the leading foreign car makers in Iran's market, which had to slow down and briefly suspend its operation during sanctions, Renault, like other foreign companies, hopes to see a return to normality in the banking sector.
Banking system is necessary for any activity. If the banking system is blocked, you cannot operate. If the banking system is limited, you can only operate with a limited level. We are optimistic on the fact that this banking system is going to be eased step by step. So we are really ready to follow that and in line with this removal of the sanction to accelerate really our activity there.
It may be still too early to say whether Iran is able to strengthen its private sector, but there is little doubt that business people like Ms. Mostofi and Mr. Fateh are determined to expand their activities by appealing to foreign investors.